You're listening to the audio version of the popular videocast Cocktails with Cav, found only on X. Follow us here on Spotify and on the X platform at Cav Literature.
Oh man, I am so excited. Show number 4 with our third guest. We're having a great time leading up to Thanksgiving. I hope everybody's ready for tomorrow. Get into that tryptophan coma, I guess. You know, we'll try anyway. But we are excited. Look, if you've been liking the show, the first few episodes, we'd love to have your support. You can buy me a coffee at my link. In fact, right up in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, little QR code. Some cheap gas station coffee too. We're not talking your expensive write your name on a cup coffee, but help keep the work going and support the show. And also please follow us at Cav Literature only on X with this great video streaming show, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another show. I tell you right off the top, as a veteran, I want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to all our service members who aren't able to be home with their friends and family for this. It's always being a veteran. I know what it's like being away. So please send your thoughts and prayers out to all our servicemen and women all around the world that aren't able to be home with their friends and families for tomorrow's Thanksgiving holidays. And also, by all means, look, if you're a veteran author, entertainer, artist, comedian, whatever, and want to be a guest on the show, that's what our show's here for. Really in touch with the indie crowd, creative crowd, and want to help you all we can. So please feel free to DM me on X at Cav Literature and follow me, and let's set something up. I'd love to help my veteran authors, entertainers, and artists. So it's going good. Tonight's Cav Cocktail is going to be my standby Crown and 7. I couldn't be without it because tonight's show is going to be really great. We have a really shady character, deep clandestine guy, but no, he really is the incredible sci-fi author Grimm. Got a heck of a background. We're going to have a great show, having some cocktails, having some fun, and talking about not only his background, but his great work. Now Comes Grimm, which is available on Amazon, and we'll get to talking about all of that. So please definitely just let's get started and meet the great sci-fi author Grimm. He's child of the 80s like me, coming up at 53 years old, but he wrote scenarios for high adventure games and made his games lively, and he got with this sci-fi book is incredible, of the sci-fi military genre, and we're going to definitely talk about it now, and hope that y'all are as entertained as I was, and I know I've already had some chats with this guy. So let's get started, and hopefully we'll talk about all kinds of stuff. Grimm, how are you, sir? Thank you for joining.
I'm doing great, and I lift my glass. I got Bacardi and Coke tonight. I lift my glass to all the service members that are missing their loved ones as well. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays to the men and women that are serving us and doing a great job. As a former military person myself, I salute you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I certainly I appreciate you coming on with me. I tell you, this is I love the setup you have, and you can explain to the ladies and gentlemen in the audience while we're shadowed out, but this is great. This is like a great 60 minutes interview. So when exactly did Nixon meet you, in the parking garage, or?
Oh, Deep Throat. Yeah, man, I love the man. I have to be blacked out. There's parts of my book and everything else that kind of ring true. And are kind of actually true. And but because of what I do, what I did with the United States government, I don't show my face.
I gotcha.
Plus,
Well,
I mean, come on. The name is Grim. It's bones up under here. Who wants to see that?
that's right. Well, and I've even got sufficient background music for us while we're in our clandestine mode. It's a
Well,
but yeah, I tell you, why don't you tell us a little bit about your interesting background? I know we had a little bit of a discussion earlier pre-show, and
at a young age, I went into the Air Force, and while in the Air Force, my primary job, we called it AFSC. I think you guys over there in the Army called it MOS. My primary AFSC was nuclear missiles, so I got to work on the big boys, and that led to a whole bunch of other stuff. Got to meet a whole bunch of Agent Smiths, Mr. Smiths, Mrs. Smiths. Yeah, lovely people over there at those three-letter words, or three-letter anagrams I'm not allowed to say. But, working with them. I've been working with the government for pretty much since I was 18.
Okay,
Still
gotcha.
am.
Yeah, well, that's definitely, like you said, a reason to get you blacked out a little bit here.
Yeah, the people that handle me don't like me showing my face too much when I'm talking about things like this.
Right. Well, I can believe it. Oh, well, I tell you, what do you do? What are you up to now? Just besides writing and
currently I'm like 5'10". Oh, you mean what am I up to? No, I'm retired. So from my actual career and a long career that I loved, I'm retired from it. So I just sit around writing. Currently, I'm after this book came out, I'm currently working on a bio about two young ladies that own Grimm Books LLC. Shout out to them. Hey, this is our drinking game for the night. Shout outs. Shout out to Grimm Books LLC.
Yes, we'll see how cocktails with Cav we can get. That's
Absolutely. Hey, you were Army, so you ever seen an Air Force guy drink you under the table?
Never
It'll
once.
happen tonight. Anyway. So they have a fantastic story, wonderful story, coming to America and everything else, from their homeland, giving up everything, they're coming here. So I'm going to do a bio about them. Somebody actually talked me into an auto bio. It's got to be set up almost like a fiction, due to the fact that I can't give out like names and stuff like that. Just because it's not allowed without going through the Pentagon and DOD and all those are three-letter words.
Right.
That means so much to us and so little. I'm also working on something about near-death experiences.
Well,
So
that
I got
all sounds.
three books in the word. Absolutely, got 3 books in the word.
That all sounds fascinating. I'm telling you. Well, and of course, we're here tonight talking about your big one, of course, available on Amazon.
Oh, it's a monster. 722 pages long.
Well, there is nothing wrong with a monster, especially when you're talking about epic tale of interstellar sci-fi military genre.
Absolutely.
And it's of course available on Amazon, $9.99 on Kindle, and of course $24.99 paperback. But it's what got you into the sci-fi genre anyway? Was it something you've always loved, or
when I was in the military, a lot of the guys that were cycling in from Europe, they brought this game called Warhammer 40,000. Shout out to Warhammer 40,000 people worldwide. Anyway,
I got my sip in. Don't worry.
Yeah, with Warhammer with Warhammer 40,000, we started playing that and stuff like that. I quickly rose up to writing the scenarios, things like that, because I was able to. And just over the years, I developed a really, really unique writing system with the scenarios. Most people that are in charge of things like Dungeons and Dragons and things like that, they write, you're going to go over here, and if you don't go over there, they're like they throw their papers over their head and they're like, I'm done. I didn't. I had something. If you went somewhere I didn't want you to go, I had something for there as well. And after about 3 years of playing the game with a bunch of guys, we were playing 2 to 3 times a week for about 8 to 10 hours in the D&D style of Warhammer 40,000. This is the newer version. And they got done with the scenario, and I'm like, what am I going to do with all this paperwork? I had like boxes of this stuff, and they're like, one of the guys looks at me and goes, hey, why don't you just write a book?
And that's how we got to Now Comes Grim.
Yeah, that's how we got to now. But anyway, so the book has the scenario in it, but I had to come up with a backstory for everybody. So that was the bigger part, was coming up with a backstory and stuff like that. I got it to the first guy, and I still have his little sheet of paper that he gave me that said, he was a publisher and an editor. And he was a friend of mine, so of course he wanted to do my book. And he goes, all right, here's your problems with this book. He goes, I literally could sit there and print this book right now, but you will not recognize it when it's done. So if you want it to be your work, here's what you have to do. I still have that piece of paper. And so I went from there. Yeah, and part of it was developing backstories and stuff like that. So I really decimated these characters before they even started into the war aspect. So,
well, did you find
like handicap?
Yeah, and did you find with like, I know sometimes when I write, I have to watch. Some of the scenarios and backgrounds in our experiences that all authors want to bring to a work. Did you find a lot of too much real stuff that you wanted to develop characters on and ended up couldn't include it?
Hey, the word couldn't never ever hit my dictionary. I think I actually have that word in my book one time. But that's out of over 250,000 words. No. What I did to get around, like when you're writing military genre and stuff like that, if you want to put part of your training and stuff like that in there, according to my sources that I still have at like the Pentagon and places like that, you could put stuff like that in there. You just make it like add a fictional part to it. Right. So like if you want to do like a confidence type of a course, or in my book I do a Hell Week type of a thing. You just put down like, oh, they did 0G in there. Well, okay. Right. I can do everything that there is about Hell Week. I can do everything, which is Navy SEALs, by the way, for those of you that are not military minded. I can do everything about Hell Week. I can do everything about the Standard Confidences course. I forget, what's the one over at Bragg? What was that course called? Do you remember?
Well, I mean, they definitely, we had, the survival course.
Yeah, you had the survival course, you had the snipers course, and you had something else over there at Bragg.
We had the Q course. Yeah,
that, sure. You have to throw something fictional in there so that it doesn't flag. And that's right. Literally how you do it. So, yeah, to start with, they went through training at 12 years old. Talk about fiction. I waterboarded these kids at 12 years old in my book. And it's like, wow, I really did that. Yeah, I beat the living snot out of these kids at 12 years old.
As a father,
stick training and everything.
As a father that made it through raising teenagers, shout out waterboarding 12-year-olds. No,
Absolutely. The little bastards need it sometimes. Anyway,
I tell you.
So
Well, go ahead.
So
Sorry.
that's literally how I got around the the military censors, is because there's a fictional part of it and everything else. They don't mind if you draw off of some of your military experience. You just can't turn around and write like a mission that's still classified without doing some really, really heavy, and I mean very heavy, adding science fiction stuff into it.
Right.
I won't say that you'll find that in my book, but there is some stuff in there that military people it'll ring true.
Oh, well, that's awesome. And I tell you, look, and I've pulled up here for the screen for our viewers and our audience, the Amazon page where the book's available. And, it, like I said, you had a great review. I noticed, and everybody's kind of familiar. Mark Schultz, former one of our fellow veterans.
Absolutely. Shout out to Mark Schultz.
Shout out, and I'm drinking. That's for sure.
Take your drink, Mr. Gap.
Yeah, I want to make sure we verify for the audience, because that's something we need to be doing. That's but he gave you a great review on your page. It's an epic story in the sci-fi military genre, and he loved it, and it rang so true for him with the description of the training and the action. And I think everybody that loves this genre and has a feeling for it, appreciates when it's realistic, because you can spot phonies in a heartbeat. Obviously, yes. Absolutely.
One other thing that I was told to do is create a glossary. One of the things that I always hated doing was, as a reader, is I hated reading a book and they would come up with like military acronyms, stuff like that. And you're like, what in the hell did that guy just say? And you're looking through the book and you're like, man, it doesn't say it anywhere in here what those initials mean or what this word means in that genre. So I put a glossary at the end of the page. So part of that 722 pages is a glossary in the back of the book. That makes us so non-military people or military people who actually forgot that chance of that, they actually can sit there and figure it out as well.
Well, do you find that readers in your genre, I know a lot of genres, the reading fans for them kind of know a lot of stuff going in. Do you find that with your readership that
a lot of the people, like one of the people that was in my group, that the one that actually suggested that I write the book, he was like, he never was in the military, but he knew everything about the military. Like, he could name every last numbered battleship and name off, like 59 was, this battleship, 48 was this battleship. He could name everything off. He had a huge collection of weapons and everything else that he had. So he was very much up to date on stuff, and he talked the talk even though he never walked the walk. So I had to get past him. And I'm like, dude, you were never in the military. You don't even know what this shit's about. He goes, yeah, but I'm like, oh, man, there's no yeah buts about it unless you were there. What can you say? Right. I was in Desert Storm. I know what it's like. And,
well, it is. Well, I mean, what did you end up including that glossary in, or?
Oh, absolutely. It's in the back of the book.
Oh, awesome.
It's in the back of the book. I also included in there, because it takes place in space, I also included in there some of the stuff about the different places that are in my book, because they're real places, kind of, like the cities aren't real, but the planets are. They're actually M-class planets that NASA and the scientists are looking at, like Proxima B, which is the nearest one. It's 4 light years away. You have the Gliese, you have Wolf, you have a couple others. So I incorporated all of that and everything else in there, because I find that stuff like really fascinating. It just clicks in my mind.
Well, take us through the story a bit if you could, because it the synopsis is fascinating, obviously.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what. I'll take you through the first couple of chapters, because anybody can sit there and go on Kindle or go on the Amazon site, and they can look at the first like 6 or 7 chapters for free.
Right.
And they can read it. So it starts out with Grimm being born. It takes him through to in his 30s. So Grimm is born. His mom dies tragically in childbirth. His father never forgives him, but then his father protects him from an invading force that comes into their village, and the leader of the invading force is like, "Hey, you're gonna be worth something sooner or later," and so he protected him and sent him off, and so and it just follows Grimm. It follows him to his training. It follows him to schooling. It follows him through waterboarding, through his Siri training. For those of you who don't know what Siri training is, that's your survival training that most people go through, pilots, everything else, when they're getting ready to deploy overseas into a battle zone or a war zone. A lot of them go through the Siri training so that they could sit there and they could survive, evade capture, and work at escaping. So I did a realistic Siri training with these kids, and and then he turns around and then it jumps right into where my scenario started, which is the ship that he was training on all of a sudden breaks up, and he's put into this little group of guys, and they've got to figure out what they got to save themselves to start with, and then figure out what in the world is going on. And it keeps going from there, and it just keeps building, and the action never stops. From page 1 on, the action never stops. I had one guy read it, and he looked at me, and it's a friend of mine here, and he looked at me, and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "I've read a lot of books where there's war and there's battles in them." He goes, "I've never wanted to duck a bullet until I read yours." Like,
well, that's
pretty damn good, because he's a military guy,
Yeah, sure. And to translate
forces like you are, and and he said that, and I'm like, I take that as a very high compliment coming from a military person.
Shout out to you if you can translate that kind of action into words. That's definitely.
Shout out to everybody that can.
That's right.
But the so then it turns around and he starts building up. He has a little bit of psychic abilities, which is something that you're old enough to remember. Quite a few of your listeners are old enough to remember MK Ultra, which was the covert operations of CIA. I discussed that a little bit in the book. My part breaks in the book deal with history. Why is this in my book? Is because way back when, the MK Ultra and stuff like that was around, where they tried to develop psychic abilities, remote viewing, things like that. That type of stuff actually interests me. So it was incorporated into the book, things like that, and I did a great job of avoiding, because this is written in the first person present tense, which is a hard thing to write to begin with. I think I did a pretty good job. And what I didn't catch, my buddy Caleb, he's the one that caught it. Caleb developed all the bad guys and the antagonists. It was my story, but we needed some more antagonists that were like almost superhuman. He's like, I got the perfect ones. So he developed that, and he helped to flesh out some of the battle scenes and things like that, and to help with the flow of the book. I did all the chapter breaks, so there's no way you want to put that in between chapters.
Well, that is awesome. And
yeah,
because that kind of work, and I tell you, a lot of people, we talked about it a little bit on last night's show about like the romance genre with the great author Sophie Penhaligon, and we had on last night.
Absolutely, yeah, I listened to that one.
Yeah. Oh, well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Shout out to her.
Absolutely. Shout out to Sophie Penhaligon at SophPen on X. Go follow her. But
Absolutely.
that's it. And we talked about, the genres and how some people view them as kind of a specific thing that they want to be into. And sci-fi, I think, lends itself to that. And part of what I hope to accomplish with this show, not only to really highlight some of the great indie authors and entertainers and artists, but also highlight some of the genres that some people might not be thinking of as something they want to embark on, and
absolutely.
Sci-fi.
Like, when you say sci-fi to most people, their eyes glaze over, and they're like,
right.
Star Trek and Star Wars. Whoopee!
Yeah.
Well, one, you don't know what you're missing. Screw you. But two, that's not what sci-fi truly is. Sci-fi just adds an element of stuff that is not actually in existence right now. So if you have a technology that just doesn't exist, it's in your mind, and you put it on paper, technically that's science fiction. It doesn't exist. You sit there and you can describe it, you can flesh it out, you can make it work and everything else on paper. And sooner or later, some scientist is going to come along and invent it. I mean, let's talk about Star Trek. How long was Star Trek not on when you and I were born?
I mean, we're sitting here on the
just
Jets.
Stopped right after you were born, and they had that flip thing. Beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life form here. And then all of a sudden, everybody's got one. They're the flip phones.
Right. And we're sitting here on the Jetson phone now. So
absolutely, this is the Jetson phone. So sci-fi basically is just stuff that is technology that's in somebody's mind that doesn't exist yet. And those people there are what the scientists and people over at DARPA and stuff like that, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that type of stuff, and they're like, I think I could do that.
And
I'm pretty sure we can.
And I think, when you talk about sci-fi, as far as, great literature, no matter the genre, when it's good, it's making a statement and trying to change the world or spark an emotion in people to make them think. And sci-fi just happens to do it in a futuristic manner, like you said. And,
right.
And one of the great things about your book, when you read some of the reviews or the synopsis about it, it's not just a story of battles and otherworldly intergalactic adventure.
Absolutely.
And of course that stuff just makes it fascinating for people who are interested, and everyone should be interested, because we're living in a world now where technology is just exponentially gaining.
Absolutely.
And
what I went off with my book, like, people are like, oh, sci-fi, there's gonna be a whole bunch of like ray guns. You're like, there is not a single ray gun in my book. Not a single.
There's not a ray gun. There
is not a ray gun in there. Hey, you know what I did several years ago? A gentleman sat there and he made a digital digital footprint of the 100 most things that are what humanity needs for 3D printing. And so my book literally it starts with how we got to the year 3000 out in the stars is global warming, stuff like that. Whether you believe in it or not, I took today's events. Global warming is one of today's events, so I took today's events, and I said, we determined we needed to get the hell off this planet. And so we packed up a whole bunch of 3D printers, SpaceX, and the Jeff Bezos and all those people, and NASA, and the cosmonauts and everything else, and we just jettisoned off this planet and started colonizing out in space. But all we had with us was the technology we have now. So
Well,
they're using M16s. They're using MLAPs.
You meant Elon, right? Not Bezos. No.
No. I was talking. Okay, so you have SpaceX. SpaceX is Elon. I said SpaceX, and then Jeff Bezos and his company, which I'm pretty sure that one's Blue Origin.
Right.
Is that Blue Origin? But there's a whole bunch. I have them all listed in there. But there's a whole bunch of different agencies out there that are working on getting us colonizing space. Elon Musk, of course, leads the way with his SpaceX program, partnering with NASA and everything else. And I think he's actually going to do it. Hats off to him and his successful launch, even though it ended up in an explosion.
That's a shout out, right?
Absolutely, that was a beautiful ship. All the engines fired and everything else. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it sure was. You watched the launch?
Absolutely.
It was fascinating.
It was fantastic, and everybody's like, "Well, yeah, but there's another couple $2 billion down." It's like, you know what? All of the sensors and everything else made it so that they know what not to do next time.
Right.
That's what these tests are for. I mean, how many times did they blow up stuff on the NASA pads?
Right. That's for sure.
So, but so I started with that. So these guys are using current military stuff. They're using current military techniques and everything else. They just found that the little green guy does exist. As a matter of fact, one of the more famous quotes from my book is from a gentleman named General Mount. He looks at the class of people in front of him and he goes, "Yes, yeah, we're going to talk about ET." He goes, "Don't laugh. The little bastards exist."
Right. That's it. Well, and you know, that's one of those, when you talk about the sci-fi genre, you know, I think, you know, when you talk about your book and you talk about a poignant reflection on humanity's relentless pursuit of knowledge and the sacrifices we're making for progress, and that our indomitable spirit, all of that is in the synopsis, you know, and what your sci-fi addresses. We're going through that now. So, you know, the book's not only timely, it's something people need to consider.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of times what people, you know, they sit there and we've become so polarized, and everywhere in the world, everybody's become polarized. You know, you read garbage from, you know, England, you read garbage from here and everything else. Everybody's just become so polarized. But what they don't realize is that there are certain things and certain actions that are happening in the world of geopolitics, that, you know, everybody's got to watch out for this shit. We're going to have to do this stuff sooner or later.
Well, sure, and we're in the throes of it now. I think that's kind of where we're at. We're just in fact, I believe there was a post today from a Reuters story about the open AI, that turmoil that's going on with that company.
Oh yeah.
How they fired Sam, brought him back from his 4-day hiatus, and
yeah, I mean, everybody's, you know, some people are afraid of open AI, some people are okay with open AI. And I'll tell you what, like the images that I put up on my feed and that Grim Books put up on their feed, those were AI.
Right.
And we just typed in the shit and stuff like that. You know, we're not putting people out of business, because we also used Squeaky Cheese Productions. They did a whole thing. We're adding AI to their production, so that, you know, it's more of a movie type of a thing with still images, but still a movie type of a thing. You know, and we actually for our cover, you know, this is a tattoo here, and so we actually hired a tattoo artist to bring the tattoo vision I had in my mind to life. And so, you know, even with OpenAI, you're not putting people out of business, because you still have to use a person every now and then.
Right, and
that's, a lot of people don't realize that.
Well, we talked about that last night's show as well. Just
Absolutely.
AI in general is it. We're in it whether we like it or not. I mean, that's where we are.
Absolutely. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. I'm refreshing.
Well, sure.
How are you doing?
Oh, I did good. I refilled off camera. I snuck it in.
I'm refilling right on camera, so
that's fine. This is Cocktails with Cav. We just want the audience to know, please, if you haven't poured yourself that's right. And if you haven't poured yourself a cocktail already, as we talk about the great work Now Comes Grim with the author, you're behind, and that's one of the rules of Cocktails with Cav. We have to you have to be as drunk as the host. That's a rule.
Absolutely. Now you and I used to own bars, so we know, drink responsibly, everything else. Pretty much everybody should be enjoying this at home, and everything. This is a great production, and I've got to give a couple shout outs. I hope you don't mind, but you're going to have to take a drink every time.
I was hoping you'd give like 2-3 shout outs in a row with it.
2 or 3. All right, let's start with Kathy's promos. Hey, Kathy's promos is great. If you don't have her as a like or anything like that, hang on. You got to. She does great work and stuff like that. She actually did one of our trailer videos for the book. Did a great job on that. Fantastic work.
And do you know her X handle off the top of your head?
Man, I could look it up. Hang on, she's right here. Look, I got my phone right here.
Yeah, because she definitely deserves a shout out. She's a veteran herself. She does
absolutely
great work for everyone.
It's MCWILSONKY. She does fantastic work. She is an ex-veteran as well. I got to give a shout out to STRY Tellin Jerry. That's Jerry Cook, good friend of mine. Awesome writer in his own respect. So shout out for you, Jerry.
I will definitely give a shout out to Jerry. Definitely, that's
both those two are actually watching. And I'll tell you what, I've been in bad health, and some people actually watched everything while I was in the hospital a few times while I was doing all of my typing and stuff like that. By the way, I typed onto my iPhone. Shout out to Apple for having an iPhone. My entire 250,000 plus word book was done on an iPhone, so it can be done. But JG McLeod, JG McLeod author is her handle. She helped make sure that everything was running smooth and stuff like that while I was in the hospital. Did some shout outs for me, things like that. You have author Stuart Miller.
Yes, Stuart does a wonderful job of helping the indie community.
I'll tell you what, Stuart does a fantastic job.
Absolutely. I'm willing to guess that Stuart just, is up there with the top hardest workers for helping the indie author and entertainer for sure. And a wonderful human being. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And like I tell people, I'm like, you don't have to agree with people's politics, you don't have to agree with their religion. But if they're working their ass off for you or for people just like you, man, soak up their knowledge.
Oh,
help them out a little bit and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's author _S_Miller. Definitely follow that one. I'll give 2 more real quick, and then we'll move on.
I'm good.
Guna. It's at SK Guna _writer. Now he's from overseas.
Also a great person. Nice human being.
He is a fantastic person. I'll tell you what, he left me a voicemail this morning on Twitter, and that guy has a smooth voice. I'm like, dude, you're like Morgan Freeman. He goes, ha ha ha.
I'll tell you what, he has great hair.
He does.
if I'm going to give a shout out, I'm giving a shout out to his hair. That's as
Absolutely.
someone who
I got one on that who. Where was I? This will be my last one for this round. Let's go with Squeaky Cheese Productions. It's at Squeaky Cheese VO. I'll tell you what, for indie authors, they help indie authors left and right. They will sit there, you give them 4 or 5 pages of your book, tell them what the people are supposed to sound like and things like that. They produce high quality, fantastic work. Lots of people are starting to use them. They approached me and said, "Hey, I'd like to do a little bit of your book." We sat there, we fumbled around a little bit, found 5 good pages, sent it to them, and they exceeded all expectations. But they do help the indie author, and you use that stuff. It's yours when they're done with it, and you can use it for your promos and everything else. We use it in all of our promotions.
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
I definitely have to give it one hell of a shout out to them.
And I tell you, I think that as far as the indie authors and entertainers and artists go, no one works harder, and we talk about this ad nauseum, obviously. Just the heart and soul that goes into indie work, and not only just the work itself, but
absolutely
they're responsible for everything that a normal legacy publisher would do. Marketing, you setting up engagements for author meets, and it's
stuff
it's
like
incredible.
This.
Yeah, sure. And
like
Cocktails with Cav, the greatest show ever for indie.
Yeah. When you announced this, I was like, I was like, hey, George, I'll definitely do it.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah, we got to work a few things out, but I will definitely do it. I want to be one of the first ones, in your top 5, top 10, to get on here because.
And I would have made you the first guest, but the first 2 guests
we had to work this.
Well, plus they were much better looking than you by far.
They sounded better too. They sounded better too. I'm like, man, I'm up against that. How in the hell do I do that? But yeah, with things like this, sometimes you have to pay for promos and things like that. This one, you just get the little bit of, buy you that cheap, gas station coffee, which, by the way, is not too overly cheap in some places.
That's right.
Go out to California. Woo!
Hey, that's right. I'll take this moment to plug the show for sure. It's if you do want to support the show, shout out to the show. And it is at the Buy Me a Coffee link. It's really for $2, just to help support the show. Heck, and I know the QR code stays up in the upper left-hand corner, but it's about helping. And I got really, I got the idea going in just mainly because we work so hard and readers. And, I talk with a lot of authors and entertainers and artists, and they're like, when we talk about the Buy Me a Coffee support the show thing, people every morning stop at Starbucks and spend $5 on a mocha chocolate or whatever the hell. I like coffee
that sound
flavored.
Familiar, young lady? Yeah, she does that also.
I like coffee flavored coffee, but that's just me, old Army guy. But authors talk amongst themselves, and it's, they spend $5 for a cup of coffee, and here's a work that an author's poured a year and a half of their heart and soul into.
5.5 for me.
Yeah, sure. And a lot of the times just scraped up the editing and the ARC readers and, trying to produce a really great product. And, it's I can't buy that. It's $4.99. They all want the 99-cent book churned out by AI now. And, that's something we're dealing with,
Here's what I look like. Here's what I look at. If you could sit there and you could say, hey, you know what? I devoted all of my time, effort, and energy into this. Not just me, but I had these other people helping me out. I went on this show, and guess what? I didn't have an agent finding me this stuff. I had to actively look. There was a thing going around Twitter. You probably saw this, X. I'm sorry, Elon.
That's it.
I don't like
you just got shadow banned for a little bit, probably.
Yeah, probably. I don't like it when people mispronounce my last name or call me something different. I got in an argument with somebody the other day. They're like, "Okay, I'll never call it X," and I'm like, "Okay, Susie." They're like, "No, my name's John." I'm like, "No, it's Susie. If you're gonna call, X Twitter, I'm gonna just call you Susie. I don't care. You're a guy named Sue." Good song by that. But anyway, we do all of this stuff without an agent. We do, all these people sit there and they query and things like that, and they get let down and stuff like that. Hey, you know what? I know people that are pumping out 3 or 4 books, while this other person over here has 1 book that they're querying. And it's taken a year to a year and a half for somebody to sit there and say, "Yeah, I'm going to take a risk on you because you're an unknown author." Going indie is the best way to become a known author to start with.
Well,
sure. What's the going joke? Hey, I'm an indie author. How do I know I'm an indie author? I have 2,000 people following me and 5 people bought my book.
That's and it is though, and I hope that was part of the reason for this show was just I having been through it myself, just a way to help the indie community, because people need to understand the work that goes on when you're a legacy publisher author. They have a huge marketing department and agents are booking your publicity, and and indie authors are doing that, but there's such great indie work that is just full of heart and soul that a lot of times keep your agents, keep your rejection letters. It's because
absolutely.
They're gatekeeping.
And for all the indie authors out there, I talked to Mark. Mark and I talk on the phone every now and then, Mark Schultz. And I talked to Mark the other day, and he was like, look, he goes, you just have to remember one number. It's 1.4 million. That's how many brand new books Amazon put up for sale within the past year. 1.4 million. That's what you're up against as an indie author. So you have to not only come up with a kick-ass storyline, you've got to have it edited just right. You got to have all the wording just right. You got to send it through your beta readers, your ARC readers. You got to probably pay somebody to edit it, or get a whole bunch of friends that know English and edit it. Because I'll tell you what, I know English. I went to college. I have English. I studied English, But I sent my book to Mark for him to read, and he's like, "Look, dude, you have some homophone errors in here." I'm like, "I do?" He goes, "And what's with this? There's a hanging quotation mark." I'm like, "Where the hell did that come from?" There were 6 people editing this. I did a line by line.
I had a feeling you were a dangling participle guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, man, everybody was editing this thing. I've been editing, and I did the line by line myself. I feel kind of, terrible, but Mark's been doing this for 30 years.
Sure.
So of course he's going to see that. Yeah, I mean, it just jumps out at him. Is how he described it to me. Lovely guy. Talk to him at length. He's a great guy. Shout out to Mark again. There's a second shout out to him. Now he is working right now. He's got some stuff that he needs to get done, but he's going to be listening to this show tomorrow.
Well, and as we talk about all of this with the indie industry, it's, and I tell you, it might sound like sucking up, and hey, it probably is. Elon, if you're listening, look, I have high hopes for what you've promised for X, and it's
taking shape. It is taking shape. I mean,
I think so, and hopefully indie, between the streaming, which I'd love. I jumped right on that because I ran a little nonprofit year or so ago that ran a little show on YouTube and all of that, and the name that shall not be spoken. No, but it's so, but for him to get X to the point where now, look, I've gone all in, and this show is only on X as the video cast. Because I think it's going to be a platform where we can begin to break those chains of and really the free market's the free market. I want my work to be out there, and a lot of it is not just creating the work itself. Unfortunately, as an indie person, you have to be good at marketing. That's
absolutely. So if anybody's watching this right now, and you're going to sit there and you're going to turn around and you're going to send it to your friends and stuff like that, definitely put down Elon Musk as a hashtag or a handle on there, so that he actually gets to see the fact that we are playing him up, and we love this platform that he's taken over and everything else, and it's made it so that people like me, people like you, all the indie authors out there and everything else, we actually have a voice.
And I think that's what it is. It's a way to have reach. And I have to tell you, I've had for years. Shout out to Elon. Yeah, shout out to Elon Musk. That's what. Definitely, you can't have a cocktails with Cav without it.
Absolutely not.
But from other social media platforms, I have to say, look, just in my experience, the reach on X is incredible. And
yeah, there was just something that he posted where his crossover views were like the nearest one was like 200,000 away from him. So he's got a shit ton of crossover views and everything else off the Google search engine and stuff like that. So he's doing something correct.
I think so. Like I said, I've had a great experience and just not only just getting what I wanted to say out there, but to the ability to engage with other people is just I've met some phenomenal friends on the platform as well, and not only just
absolutely. You know what I really hate about the people that I've seen on they're like, oh, Twitter X is so bad now. It's like, really? I'm having a blast. Where are you?
Yeah, I really, it's like, is that an old military adage, right? Quit clicking on boobs and you won't see them. No.
Yeah. It's that input output stuff, shit input equals shit output.
Exactly. And I mentioned that last night. That's why I have entertainers as part of the show. Is I'm hoping the X-Bots, if you're out there listening, please, hey, you're an entertainer, come on the show. Maybe I'll get lucky. I'm telling you, we'll blow up bigger than Tucker.
Absolutely. Hey, we were talking just a few minutes ago about how hard it is for the indie authors and everything else. One of the things that they have a problem with and stuff like that is creating their book covers, getting their bleed correct, getting their page breaks correct, their page numbers, all that other garbage. If you have the money, I had the money, and so I got a publisher that you paid money to as opposed to query them. You paid money to them. They did all that stuff for me. They helped make sure that the book cover was correct and everything else. They uploaded it and everything. I've got a big shout out to my publisher, which is Cash Stevens. He goes off of Stevens Cash. Absolutely. Him and Pioneer Publishing Press. There's a second one. I'm going to take 2 sips myself. But you can go that route too. That'll actually help you. You could also find other companies, Grim Books LLC, which is a company that I started, and my niece runs. She is fantastic. She did my entire cover. She found the tattoo artist and everything else. She actually did the cover and everything. All that they had to do once they got everything was they had to put it all together. So you can find companies such as Grim Books LLC to actually help you do your cover and stuff like that, and they're relatively cheap. You can find people for cheap. There's one online right now that I saw at $10. They'll give you three book movie trailers that you could pick from and stuff like that for like $10.
That's a big thing too now, movie trailers.
Absolutely. I mean, it's awesome. My movie trailer, Kathy Promos did a great job with mine. It's awesome. We could do them also, but that came with the promotions that I got from her because I did pay for the promotions. A lot of people complain about that, but you know what? I'm sitting at 1,500 and some odd people as followers. Kathy's promotion is sitting with over 50,000, and a couple of the people that are putting this stuff out to their people have over 100,000 followers. I don't have that reach myself, so sometimes you do have to shed that $25 or that $40 and get these people.
Well, and you mentioned that too. That's part of the indie life too, is
absolutely
just, we're grinding out social media every day and just gaining followers and
absolutely
that's why it's so important. Look, it's
Yeah, my day starts at 6:30 in the morning. Everybody that follows me knows 6:30 in the morning I start my posts.
Yep, absolutely. But
and when do I end my posts? Well, today I ended them real early, because we had to set the room up and everything else so that we could do this, so that anybody and everybody can sit there and actually see what other people are actually doing. And I'll tell you what, if anybody out there wants to do something like this, as you can see, I'm blacked out. If you're doing your book anonymously or under a pen name and you don't want to be seen and stuff like that, man, shout out to you. With Cocktails with Cav. That's definitely a drink right there. Shout out to you with Cocktails with Cav, because this is an outlet that we can actually use that is helpful and beneficial as opposed to beating us down.
Sure.
I saw a company out there, and I'm like, well, how much is it for promos? And they're like $95. And I go, well, what do I get? Well, you get one post per day for 1 week. I'm like, seriously? I go,
yeah, right.
I do that myself. I could post 50 times in one day, and I don't have to pay myself $95. Come on, man. Like, well, yeah, that's it. And I'm like, dude, you're just preying on people.
Yeah.
How about you get with everybody else that's charging like $25 per month? Kathy's Promos, again, shout out to her. I'm with her. $25 for 1 month. She does 3 posts per day. She did the video trailer for us. That's all part of what she does. But you have to search to find people's like that. Books to Read is another one. Books to Read comes out and does stuff on many different platforms for you. And they're really, really reasonably priced. Do your research on this stuff. I can't say that enough for these people. Not a lot of people that are writers have a lot of money. I mean, some of these writers are, God, I was talking to one the other day. And she's like, yeah. I go, how old are you? She said, I'm 20. What do you do for a living? Well, I'm a professional. I go to college. Oh, so you have no money? No. Well, how do you expect to advertise? I don't know. You got to come up with a plan.
It is, and hopefully things like this show will help our population for sure. And I tell you, I'm
absolutely.
Just excited.
Everybody needs to spread this around.
Absolutely. I hope so. And I hope more authors, look, DM me, like I've said, Cocktails with Cav, authors, entertainers, artists, comedians, look, we're in this indie, highly competitive world together, and by all means, DM me at Cav Literature. Look, you know, follow me at Cav Literature. DM me, and for sure, I got a calendar, and we'll be ready for you. Because we're just trying to help. Look, there's a lot of great artists and authors and entertainers out there that have a lot to say, and to help get that out there when we're being held down in so many ways, you know.
Absolutely. And if I may, I don't want to stomp on the toes of your other guests that were before me, or any that follow me, but hey, if you have a hard time finding the Cocktails with Cav, or you send a DM or something like that, talk to some of the people that have been on the show. We will get in touch with them.
Oh, absolutely.
I have no problems getting in touch with you. I mean, you and I have talked so much that, I might as well invite you over for turkey tomorrow.
That's it.
It'd be a little impossible because you are in
New Orleans,
and I'm not.
You're in an undisclosed location.
I cannot give up where I'm at, but I am hell and gone from New Orleans.
That's all right.
Been there before during Katrina, but I'm not. I'm nowhere near there.
So when exactly did Nixon meet you in the parking garage again? What?
Hey man, Deep Throat was my friend. Come on.
He's in an undisclosed location.
Absolutely, I'm in an undisclosed location. I mean, people can put 2 and 2 together and come up with 15. But
that's right.
They can guess all they want. Hey, you know what? With everything I did, I lived a blessed life. I've worked for the United States government for a long, long, long time now, people like me, people like you, people like all the military vets out there. Hats off to them again. They are the ones that make it so that us indie authors and everything else can sit there and have the freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and everything else to sit there and write their books and say what they want to say, no matter what the political climate is. And even though I have to hide where I'm at, hide who I am and stuff like that, yes, my voice hasn't been changed. Just to let everybody know, my voice hasn't been changed. So if you've met me in person, my voice is very distinctive. You know what? Just please be mindful of the fact that I've worked for the government. I still do work for the United States government. And I cannot give up who I actually am in real life. Just because, even though I wrote this fantastic book, military people are going to love it. Just because I wrote this fantastic book does not mean that you can sit there and say, I know him. You can't do that shit, or else you're going to get people like me not being able to write books for you to enjoy.
Absolutely. Well, look, Grim, I tell you what, I've had a great time with tonight's show. Shout out to you.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Shout out to you too. That's 2 cents, bud.
But please, everybody, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, go follow the great sci-fi author Grim. It's right there on the screen at Grim Caleb Wilcox. Give him a follow, and please, by all means, also on the screen, look, check out his book at Amazon. Now Comes Grim, $9.99 Kindle, $24.99 paperback.
And hit that notification bell. That way you'll never miss a single author coming to your platform.
Absolutely, for Cocktails with Cav. And I tell you, we're just really excited about how the show's been going. And by all means, again, special shout out to any veteran authors or entertainers or artists. If you'd like to be on the show, please follow me at Cav Literature. DM me and let's set something up. And please, by all means, if you want to help the work continue for the indie author and entertainer community, support the show. Just my link's on my profile on X. There's the QR code on the screen as well. Buy me a coffee, a little $2 show support or whatever. Go a long way to keep the work going, that's for sure. And man, I have to tell you.
And if I may,
you may.
I'll tell you what. Cocktails with Cav, they worked with me 100%. Me and my people and my crew 100% of the way from start to finish, from the time that we penciled me in to the time of right now of the show. They are with you 100%, and they help you out 100%. I can't say anything negative about my experience so far with this. And I'll tell you what, I would love to be on again. You could book me anytime. We will talk whatever. And if we could get interaction, we could have people ask questions, military, whatever. New military people out there, you got to get on this. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Come on and let us help our fellow veterans out in this struggling world too. Man, Grim, I tell you what, I have had a great time. I stuck with my Crown and 7 Cav cocktail. You had your rum and Coke. We did a lot of great shout outs, man. I tell you, it's
absolutely. I tell you what, everybody that I talk to and interact with, I love you all very much. If I didn't get to you, I apologize. I'll get to you next time that I'm with somebody. My next interview is going to be with Mark Schultz. Look forward to that. That's coming up in I think 2 weeks. Mark can correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me on X. But I think it's in 2 weeks is my next interview. And I look forward to everything. And I've already clicked that notification bell. I'm going to be watching you every night.
Oh, man. Well, I appreciate it, Grim. And please, ladies and gentlemen, please go follow Grim on X. Grim Caleb Wilcox, right there on the screen. Please think about supporting the show with my little Buy Me a Coffee link, because I'm like everybody else, just waiting on X to approve my subscriptions. But by all means, please take advantage of the QR code on the screen, or just going directly to Amazon. Pick up a copy of Now Comes Grim. Great sci-fi work, and it's just you're going to enjoy it. And it was a pleasure meeting you, Grim, and we'll talk soon again, I'm sure.
Absolutely. You have a wonderful evening, and to everybody out there, happy Thanksgiving.
All right, Grim. Take it easy, man. Be good.
Absolutely.